Today I want to talk about how to apply happiness into business. And before getting into Zappos and how we're doing it at Zappos, I wanted to talk a little bit about what led me to Zappos. And the story actually begins with pizza. In college, I was running a pizza business on the ground floor of my dorm, and we have about 300 or 400 people in our dorm, and my college roommate and I were running the business. We were in charge of ordering the supplies and hiring workers, setting the menu, occasionally making pizzas ourselves. And this guy named Alfred would stop by every night. And Alfred today is actually our chief financial officer or CFO at Zappos. And that's actually how I met him, was through the pizza business. And he would stop by every night and order one large pepperoni pizza from me. And I remember back in college, we used to have nicknames for Alfred like Monster or Human Trash Compactor because he could eat a lot. We would go out to Chinese restaurants late at night and there would be 10 of us, and he would eat everyone's leftovers. Whatever they had, he would finish them. And so when he bought a large pepperoni pizza from me every night, I didn't think it was that strange because I knew he could eat a lot. But sometimes he would come by 2 hours later and buy another large pepperoni pizza from me. Well, I found out several years later, he was taking the pizzas upstairs and then selling them off one slice at a time and making a profit. So that's why he's our CFO or Chief Financial Officer today at Zappos. So after the pizza business, the same roommate I was running the pizza business with, he and I got together and formed a company called LinkExchange, and we did online advertising. This was back in 1996. And I remember it was a lot of fun back in the day, in the very early days when it was just 5 or 10 of us. And we were sleeping under our desks, working around the clock, had no idea what day of the week it was. But we didn't know any better to pay attention to company culture. And we ended up growing the company to about 100 or so people and ended up selling the company to Microsoft in 1998. But what a lot of people don't know is the reason why we ended up selling the company. It's because it just wasn't a fun place to work anymore. And I remember myself having trouble getting out of bed in the morning and not wanting to go into the office. And that was kind of a strange feeling because this was a company that I was a co-founder of. And if I myself didn't want to go into the office then, I wondered how the other employees felt. So ended up selling the company. And then Alfred and I got together and formed an investment fund. And we invested in about 20 or so different internet companies. And Zappos just happened to be one of them. And over the course of a year, I realized that investing was very boring. I really missed being part of building something. And so within a year, I ended up joining Zappos full-time, and I've been with Zappos ever since. And then, so I've been with Zappos for over 10 years, and in November of last year, just a few months ago, Amazon acquired Zappos. Except this was very different because Amazon actually is leaving Zappos alone, and we're going to continue growing the Zappos brand, the Zappos business, and the Zappos culture the way we have it, and continue to grow the company independently. And basically, it's like we swapped out our board of directors. So most people, when they hear Zappos, know, at least in the United States, know that we sell shoes online. But internally, we think of the Zappos business very differently. We really want the Zappos brand to be about the very best customer service and customer experience. And we actually sell a lot more than shoes today. We sell shoes, clothing, even housewares, kitchenware. And we've had customers email us and ask us if we will please start an airline or run the government. And we're not going to do any of those things this year. But 20 or 30 years from now, I wouldn't rule out a Zappos Airlines that's just about the very best customer service. And so that's kind of how we're thinking of growing the Zappos brand. Now, over the years, because we focus so much on customer service, our whole philosophy has been really take most of the money we would have spent on paid advertising or paid marketing and instead invest it in the customer experience. So things like offering free shipping both ways, or a 365-day return policy, running our warehouse 24/7, or having our call center 24/7, and making sure that we provide the very best customer service. So all of those things are very expensive, but they generate a lot of customer loyalty and cause the customers to do the marketing for us through word of mouth. So we grew from no sales in 1999 to now in 2008 and 2009, we're now doing over $1 billion in gross merchandise sales every year. And the #1 driver of that growth has been through repeat customers and word of mouth. So for us, we're really focusing on the 3 C's. For Zappos, it's clothing, customer service, and culture. And this is kind of the life cycle of the customer. For customers that have never heard of Zappos before, we want them to know we're all about having a great selection of clothing and shoes. Once they know about that, then we want them to know that we offer the very best customer service. And once they know that, then we want them to know about our culture, because that's the platform that makes everything possible. So we've actually had customers tell us that Zappos is happiness in a box, because when they open the box and feel the perfect pair of shoes or the perfect outfit, then that makes them really happy. So whether it's the happiness they get from getting the perfect outfit, or the happiness that customers feel through customer service, or the happiness that our employees feel by being part of a company whose vision they really believe in and whose values and culture they really want to be a part of, what we realize is the thing that ties all of these things together, all these 3 C's, is that Zappos is really just about delivering happiness. That's really what our whole company is about, whether it's to customers or employees, and we apply that same philosophy to our vendors as well. Now, there's 2 books I want to really recommend you read if you haven't heard of them before. One is Good to Great, and one is Tribal Leadership. In Tribal Leadership, actually, if you go to the Zappos website, you can download the audio version for free, because we partnered with the authors on that. And they examined what separates the great companies from just the good ones over the long term. And they found there were 2 important things that the great companies had that the good companies didn't. And the first thing that they found was that great companies had very strong cultures. And at Zappos, we kind of formalized the definition of our culture into 10 core values. An important word here is actually committable core values. And by committable, meaning actually willing to hire and fire people based on the core values. So these are our 10 core values, and when we hire people, we actually do 2 separate sets of interviews. The first set is the hiring manager and his or her team will interview for ability and relevant experience fit within team. But then our human resources department or recruiting department does a separate set of interviews purely for culture fit, and we actually have interview questions for each and every one of these different core values. And so some people look at that list and say, well, those values won't work at my company. But what the research found is it actually doesn't matter what your values are. What matters is that you have them and that the entire organization is aligned around them. And that's what makes your company stronger and stronger. But you have to be willing to hire people and fire people based on whatever values you think are right for you and your company. The second thing that both books found was that separated the great companies from just the good ones was having a vision that's beyond just money or profits or being number one in a market. They found that companies that had a vision about something that was more meaningful actually ended up doing better financially in the long run. And so sometimes at entrepreneur conferences, people ask me, what's a great market to get into where I can make a lot of money? And my advice is, instead of thinking about it that way, think about what would you be so passionate about doing that you'd be happy doing it for 10 years, even if you never made any money from it. And that's what you should be doing. And kind of the ironic thing is, if you actually do that, then the money will follow, because your employees and your customers and your business partners will all sense your passion, and that will make your business that much stronger. So I like to say, chase the vision, not the money. There's a movie that came out I don't know if it came out in Hong Kong, but a couple years ago in the United States, called Notorious. And Puff Daddy, the rapper, said to Notorious B.I.G. in the movie, "Don't chase the paper, chase the dream." I just like this one because I wanted to put that picture up there. I think it's a nice picture. So if you're an entrepreneur, just want you to think about, what would you be so passionate about doing that you'd be happy doing it for 10 years, even if you never made a dime? And that's what you should be doing. And if you have employees, think about what's the larger vision and greater purpose in your employees' work beyond just money or profits or being number one in market. There's a lot of consultants and books that talk about how to motivate employees. And there's lots of ways you can do it. You can do it through incentives. You can do it through recognition. A lot of companies do it through fear. But at Zappos, we believe that there's a big difference between motivation and inspiration. And if you can inspire your employees through a vision that they really believe in, that's not about money or profits, and if you can inspire them with a strong culture where the company's core values match their own personal values, then you can accomplish so much more. You don't need to worry about the motivation part of it. So I wanted to take a step back from all this business talk and have you guys think about this question. What is your goal in life? So I want you to really think about it, and different people will have different answers. And when you do ask people, what is their goal in life, you'll get